Good afternoon. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Steinhart Ocean 39 Marine Black. This watch is available from gnomonwatches.com for $539 which equates to €460. The price includes shipping via DHL. So firstly, let's look at the box that the watch comes in, and then I'll talk you through the other items one gets with a piece. So the Ocean 39 Marine Black comes in this familiar white cardboard Steinhart outer watch box. One removes the lid, pulls down the flap, and the watch box is protected by tissue paper. So I'll remove the watch box and show it to you in detail. So, very aesthetically pleasing watch box. Something I really like about Steinhart is they don't cut any corners with regards to their watch boxes. It's made from a vinyl PU leather, which is very aesthetically pleasing, flawless stitching throughout, and there's a stainless steel popper on the front. Hinge lid, and inside there is a piece of foam which protects the watch in shipping. As you can see, very aesthetically pleasing, and the watch sits in the centre on a padded pillow cushion as one would expect. So with regards to other items, one gets this thank you card from Gnomon Watches, and it invites you to leave a review on their website. One also gets another thank you card, and this actually serves a purpose because it has teeth on the card, as you can see, and they're indexed with different sizes. So one can use this for measuring the lug width or the bracelet width of a watch if you want to order additional straps or bracelets for it. It's a useful keycard guide one can use for measuring the lug widths of the piece. One also gets this owner's instruction manual, and it also details the terms and conditions of the warranty. Now, if you purchase this watch from Gnomon, it's in addition to the original 12-month Steinhart warranty, it's also covered, as you can see by the stamp, by an extended 180-day warranty, which is very reassuring. And as you can see, Gnomon fill in the date of purchase, they stamp this sticker on the reverse, and that activates the 180-day extended warranty for the Ocean 39 Marine Black. So this is clear and concise. It's a good owner's instruction manual. There are plenty of diagrams, and also the instructions are in English. Very useful read if you're unfamiliar with the movement used, which could be the ETA 2824-2 or alternatively the Sellita SW200-1. Both movements are used equally in the Ocean 139 series. One also gets this plastic Steinhart tag which says Swiss made, and on the reverse it has the barcode and reference number of the piece. And one gets this Gnomon Watches travel pouch, which is a nice item to get with a watch. And lastly, I have sized the bracelet to fit my wrist, and as you can see I have removed a half link to get the perfect fit on my 8-inch wrist. So with regards to the specifications of the piece, this is the Steinhart Ocean 39 Marine Black. Steinhart have made this exclusively for Gnomon. You cannot purchase the watch on Steinhart's website. You have to purchase it from gnomonwatches.com. So originally Steinhart produced another version of this watch, the Marine Black LE limited edition, and that was limited to a production run of only 200 pieces, 200 pieces in black and 200 pieces in blue. And they sold out very quickly. Now there are some notable differences between this Marine Black and the Marine Black LE version, which is its predecessor. The LE version had a plexiglass crystal, which is like acrylic, and this version has a sapphire crystal and also a Cyclops magnifier. It also has a date complication with the Cyclops magnifier. The blue version doesn't have a date complication. So of the two versions, the LE limited edition or this version, I personally prefer this version because sapphire crystal is more scratch resistant rather than the plexiglass used in the LE version. 39mm case diameter. It has a 47mm lug to lug measurement, a thickness of 12.7mm and a lug width of 20mm. The oyster style bracelet tapers from 20mm at the lugs down to 16mm at the flip block clasp, and as you can see the flip block clasp is signed with the Steinhart brand emblem to a high standard. Now with regards to the rest of the specification, the sapphire crystal has clear AR coating on the underside which does a very good job of reducing the highly reflective nature of the silver snowflake hands. The watch is clearly an homage to the Tudor Snowflake Submariner reference 7021/0 from the 1970s, and it does that very well because it has very similar proportions at 39mm, and also the thickness at 12.7mm is very close to the Tudor Snowflake Submariner. They've made the correct balance in upgrading some of the specification. For example, it has solid end links rather than the hollow folded end links of the Tudor Submariner from the 1970s. They've also upgraded to using sapphire crystal. So I personally think they've got the balance right with this. It gets many things incorrect which were incorrect with the LE version, such as using plexiglass. The other thing they've made the correct decision on is using an aluminium bezel insert rather than ceramic. Now, ceramic is more scratch resistant, but really wouldn't fit with an homage to the Tudor Snowflake Submariner from the 1970s because that also used an aluminium bezel insert. So I think they've got everything correct with this piece. I love the printed snowflake indices. They just are absolutely beautiful to look at. Another thing I really like about it are the red Arabic numerals on the date wheel. The Tudor Snowflake Submariner reference 7021/0 had a roulette date wheel. The Arabic numerals alternated between even numbers and odd numbers in black and red, hence the name roulette, like a roulette wheel, black and red. On this Steinhart Ocean 39 Marine Black, all the Arabic numerals on the date wheel are in red, and I actually prefer that. So I think that red numerals are very aesthetically pleasing. They're also clearly legible. They're actually more legible than black Arabic numerals on a white date wheel. Now, minor criticism of the piece. It's the main negative of the piece, the one thing I dislike. The Cyclops magnifier has AR coating on the underside, which is good, but it only has 1.5 times magnification. On a Rolex, and indeed the Tudor Snowflake Submariner, this is an homage to, they both have 2.5 times magnification. And really I would like to see Steinhart upgrade the 1.5 times magnification Cyclops magnifier to 2.5 times as per Rolex, because that would enhance the legibility of the date complication. I like the snowflake hands. They're very well executed. They are very close to the design of the Tudor snowflake hands, and I also like the fact they've also used a diamond shaped snowflake on the sweeping second hand rather than a round Lume dot. So it works very well. I think the snowflake printed indices work better than the Submariner style dial layout of the Black Bay and the Black Bay 58 respectively. I think that this is the watch really that Tudor themselves should be making a 39 or 40mm reissue of their Tudor Snowflake Submariner from the 1970s. The execution of the bracelet is outstanding. One thing I really like about it is the use of female pivoted end links. So Steinhart have got many things correct about this watch that other brands get incorrect. For example, often on Submariner homages they use male end links which make the effective lug-to-lug measurement too long for smaller wrists. But with female pivoted end links, one gets a better fit. The case is pulled tighter, it's a snug fit to the wrist, and it allows for extra articulation of the end links in the oyster style bracelet because it means they can move closer to the wrist. As you can see, there's more articulation than one would get with a male end link which is fixed. The solid end links are a good tight fit to the case, no play whatsoever, and the execution of the female pivoted end links is outstanding. Screw pins in the bracelet which are superior to push pins, beautiful luster to the satin finishing to the top side and underside, and flawless mirror polishing to the flanks of the bracelet. With regards to the clasp, it's another one of my favourite features. As you'll know from my previous reviews, I'm often highly critical of brands for only having 2 or 3 micro adjustment holes in a flip-lock clasp. Steinhart have got this correct. They have got 4 micro adjustment holes which allows for adequate fine tuning of the bracelet length. The other thing I like about this bracelet is Steinhart have included 2 half links, one half link on this side and one half link on this side, which I've removed to get the bracelet sized correctly to my wrist. To get 2 half links in the oyster style bracelet means one can either fine tune the length using the 2 half links or alternatively the 4 micro adjustment holes. So it really allows for infinite micro adjustment in the absence of a ratcheting clasp or a glide lock style mechanism. The interior is finished to a high standard, solid milled stainless steel clasp made from 316L grade stainless steel, engraved with stainless steel as you can see, mirror polished on the top side, underside and flanks, and it's just absolutely beautiful to look at. Now, one thing I really like about this Steinhart Ocean 39 Marine Black is the screw down case back. Solid 316L grade stainless steel. As you can see, it looks similar to a Rolex or Tudor style caseback because the centre section is sterile. Just some minimal engraving around the circumference with the specification of the piece. And I actually prefer this more sterile screw down caseback, which provides an effective hermetic seal to 300 meters, to the standard Ocean 139 caseback. Usually Steinhart Ocean 1s have an engraved caseback with Sidon, which is the Greek god of the sea, his trident spear and a seahorse. And that really does fit the identity of the Ocean 1, Sidon with his trident spear. But I actually find that sometimes on the Ocean 139 in particular, the engraving on the caseback is sometimes quite sharp. It's actually done to such detail that the edges of the engraving sometimes can feel sharp against the skin. They can rub the wrist and feel irritating. But with this, because the centre section is just concentric brass satin finishing, more like a Rolex caseback or a Tudor caseback, it feels smoother. And I actually prefer the absence of Sidon with the trident spear and the seahorse as per the standard Ocean 139. I think this is more comfortable. So the comfort level of this Ocean 39 Marine Black is superior to the comfort level of the standard Ocean 139. I would actually like to see Steinhart introduce these casebacks to all the Ocean ones, the 42 and the 39. Solid end links are a good tight fit to the case, as I've discussed. Flawless mirror polishing to the underside. Now with regards to the case finishing, it's one of my favourite aspects. Brass satin finish to the tops of the lugs. Flawless mirror polishing to the flanks of the case. I like the pointed profile to the crown guards. Nailed finish, coinage finish to the screw down crown. And as you can see, beautifully engraved with the Steinhart brand emblem. The flanks really are finished to a very high standard, beautiful finishing. Another thing I like about this 39 Marine Black version is it has drills holes in the flanks of the case, and that means it's easy to remove the end links from the case to fit a NATO strap, rubber strap or leather strap. The standard Ocean 139 doesn't have holes in the flanks of the case, and I actually think this is a benefit, having the holes. It means that one can easily remove the spring bars, and I think that Steinhart should consider introducing this to their 42 and 39mm standard versions of the Ocean 1. The holes also give it a retro look. It gives it the watch a vintage aesthetic, which does suit this being an homage to the Tudor Snowflake Submariner from the 1970s, because that of course also had holes in the case. So I'll give you a wrist shot and you can see how it fits on my 8-inch wrist. Now, as I've discussed, I have sized the bracelet. I've removed one half link, and I've also moved the bracelet into the second of 4 micro adjustment holes. And as you can see, that gives me the perfect fit. Now, as you'll know from my previous reviews, I like to size my bracelets loose. The correct sizing method for a bracelet is one should always be able to slide an index finger under the bracelet and clasp at all times. The reason why that's the correct sizing method is because it allows for wrist expansion. In warm weather, when one is active, for example, and the wrist expands, that index finger width underneath the bracelet and clasp allows for the wrist to expand. So I've sized it correctly, and as you can see, it does fit my 8-inch wrist very well. The female pivoted end links give a good snug fit to the wrist. I've previously owned the Ocean 1 42mm, several different versions of it, and one thing I disliked about the 42mm version of the case is the underside of the case has a very flat and straight profile, which gives an abhorrent gap underneath the underside of the flanks to the case. But with the 39mm, the underside of the case curves more around the wrist. It has a shorter lug-to-lug measurement of only 47mm, and that means it's a closer fit to the wrist. The female end links also enhance this because they pull the bracelet closer to the wrist and pull the case tighter down to the wrist. So the 39mm is a better fit than the 42mm version of the Ocean 1. I've owned both. I've previously reviewed the 39mm, the Ocean 139 green, which is the Kermit. And I can tell you that with my 8-inch wrist, the 39mm is a better fit than the 42. If you have a smaller wrist of 6 to 7 inches, you will definitely find the 39mm fits you better than the 42mm version. So the feel-good factor of this watch is incredible. The comfort level is also incredible. Very aesthetically pleasing piece. The 20mm lug width perfectly balances the 39mm head of the piece. They've got the proportions of this watch down to perfection. I also really like the 20mm tapering down to 16mm on the bracelet. It really is the perfect proportions. Just absolutely beautiful to look at. Beautiful luster to the 316L grade stainless steel oyster style bracelet. The silver snowflake hands complement the snowflake dial, and I think they've also made the correct decision by using printed snowflake indices rather than applied, because applied would be too contemporary and therefore it would bring it too far forward. It would look too modern to be an homage to the 1970s Tudor Snowflake Submariner, which also had printed snowflake dial. Absolutely gorgeous to look at. The AR coating does an outstanding job of reducing the glare and the reflective nature of the dial. And also, I really like the matte black dial. It's just absolutely beautiful. I think it looks better than a glossy black dial, which again would look too contemporary, like a ceramic Rolex Submariner date, for example. So the taper on the lugs is just beautiful to look at. Everything about the proportions is just done to perfection. So let's do a lume test and we'll see how the lume performs when it's charged up to its absolute maximum. Now I've got high expectations of the lume use because it's BGW9 Superluminova, which is top grade Swiss Superluminova, and as you'll know from my previous reviews, it's a personal favourite of mine. I like C3 Superluminova and also BGW9 Superluminova. So as always, I'm going to use my 100 UV LED torch to charge it up to its absolute peak. Right, so that's now fully charged, and as you can see, it has not disappointed. This has actually exceeded my expectations. This is 10 out of 10 top grade BGW9 Superluminova. It is equal in quality to Rolex Chromolite. There is no difference whatsoever between the BGW9 Swiss Superluminova that Steinhart are using and also the Chromolite that Rolex are using. Very similar blue tone to it. Of course, with the snowflake hands and the snowflake printed indices, they allow for large lume plots, several layers of BGW9 to be applied. I also like the diamond-shaped snowflake sweeping second hand. As you can see, that gives outstanding performance. And also, there's a large lume pip on the aluminium bezel inserts, which is glowing very brightly. This is actually some of the best lume performance I have ever seen on a watch. It really is incredible. I've previously owned a Tudor Black Bay, and I've also reviewed the Tudor Black Bay 58 on my channel, and they both had outstanding lume. And I would say that this Steinhart Ocean 139 Marine Black really has equal quality snowflake performance on the the printed indices and the snowflake hands. It's very similar to the Black Bay 58 and also the Black Bay Heritage 41 version that I've reviewed. And I think Steinhart deserve full credit for that, because one has to factor in the price point of this piece. It is significantly less than a Tudor Black Bay or alternatively the Black Bay 58, but one is getting equal performance to the lume. So just incredible, absolutely beautiful to look at, no criticisms whatsoever. So let's test the bezel action. 120 click unidirectional bezel, as one would expect. Good, tight, firm resistance. Steinhart bezels are some of the best I've experienced. I've reviewed over 100 watches on my channel, and this really is a very satisfying bezel to use. I actually prefer the Steinhart Ocean 139 action to the 42mm version. Now, I've previously reviewed the Ocean 139 green, which is the Kermit, and that bezel action felt too tight, but with this one, they've got it correct. It's just right. It is tight. No lateral side-to-side play whatsoever, no back play whatsoever. But however, it feels slightly looser. So they've got the resistance improved. It's slightly lighter, but not as light as the 42mm version, which I think is too light. I actually prefer the bezel action on this Ocean 39 Marine Black to the Rolex Submariner Date. And as you'll know from my previous reviews, I've owned the Submariner and also the Submariner Date, several versions of it. And Rolex bezel action is very good, but I actually prefer Steinhart's bezel action, and the reason for that is the clicks of a Steinhart bezel action are heavier. The indexing feels more solid, it feels heavier. I actually dislike on a Rolex Submariner Date the indexing of the 120 clicks. They feel too light and the resistance feels too light. It doesn't need enough pressure to rotate the bezel. With the Steinhart it takes more pressure, but the clicks are more audible, they're louder, and also the ratcheting mechanism feels heavier. The clicks feel heavier. So I think Rolex have lighter bezel action, which I dislike. I like the Steinhart bezel action, which is heavier. It's more like a Seiko Turtle or a Seiko SKX007, if you're familiar with those. It's got that kind of heavy click feeling to it. So it's got even resistance all the way through the 360 degrees of rotation, which is very reassuring. And I like the firm resistance. I also like the large scalloping of the teeth. They've mirror polished the scallops as well as the teeth, so it's totally polished throughout. On a Rolex Submariner date, for example, they have brushed satin finish scallops to the teeth. I actually prefer the mirror polished scallops, which match the mirror polishing to the exterior of the teeth. So let's just check the alignment. Perfect. The Lume pip and triangle on the aluminium bezel insert perfectly aligns with the triangle index at 12 o'clock on the dial. So no lateral side-to-side play, no back play whatsoever, perfect alignment. This is the perfect bezel action, and Steinhart deserve full credit for a very well executed 120 click unidirectional bezel. Coin edge finished, solid 316L grade stainless steel crown. Let's test the crown action. Silky smooth. Now, it's firmer resistance to other watches, and that does take some getting used to. For example, it is as silky smooth as a Rolex crown, but it takes significantly more force. There's more torsion required to unscrew it, but I personally don't mind that. It's just something one has to become familiar with. It's got a characteristic pop. The winding stem feels spring-loaded. Now, there are two movements used in the Ocean 139. Steinhart used the ETA 2824-2 and also the Sellita SW200-1 equally. So one could get either movements in the watch. Now this one uses a Sellita SW200-1. I've removed the case back to confirm this, and one can easily tell the difference because the SW200-1 has 26 joules, the ETA 2824-2 has 25 joules, and also the bridge of the movement is marked with ETA rather than SW200-1. So this is the SW200-1 version. No difference whatsoever with regards to quality. It doesn't matter which one you get. Beautifully executed. So in the first position, it's the manual wind position. Absolute pleasure to manually wind it to top it up to its maximum 40-hour power reserve. The Sellita SW200-1 is a reliable, well-proven workhorse Swiss movement. Pulling it out to the first click position is the quick set date complication position. Now, as I've discussed, this is an homage to the Tudor Snowflake Submariner, reference 7021/0 from the 1970s. And that had a roulette date wheel. The Arabic numerals alternated between black and red, as per roulette wheel. But I like that all the Arabic numerals on this date wheel are red, rather than being roulette, alternating between black and red. And the quick set date complication works perfectly as one would expect. Pulling it out to the final click position is the time setting position. Absolutely silky smooth to use. Good firm resistance to it. One could feel the gearing in the movement. I actually like the solid feeling of the Sellita SW200-1. It's one of my personal favourite movements. So, as you can see, the movement has hacking. I've now hacked the movement to stop the second hand dead. Pushing it back in, it's got a nice positive click, and that restarts the movement. As you can see, the second hand begins to sweep around the dial. So I'm just going to test this screwing back down. Immediate pickup. Outstanding. The internal thread interfaces perfectly with the external thread of the crown tube. It's the perfect crown execution, firmer than a Rolex Submariner date, but very satisfying. One can feel the resistance, the friction of the O-rings. There's two O-rings, one O-ring in the crown and one O-ring sealing the stainless steel crown tube to the winding stem. And both of those O-ring seals provide an effective hermetic seal to 300 meters of water resistance. And I like to feel that friction because it means there's a good tight hermetic seal between the winding stem to the case and also between the crown to the crown tube. So it's not a negative that it takes a lot of resistance. I like it. So let's discuss the movement used in the piece. As I've discussed, one can either get the ETA 2824-2 in this piece or alternatively the Sellita SW200-1. They both feel identical. One cannot decipher which movement is used by unscrewing the crown. They feel exactly the same regardless of one having 25 joules and one having 26 joules. The only way to tell which movement is used in the watch is to remove the case back, as I've done to inspect it, but it really doesn't matter which you get. So the Sellita SW200-1 has 26 joules. It runs at 28,800 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 4 Hz. It has hand winding and hacking, which are useful complications. And there are 4 grades to the SW200-1. This is the Elab grade. Elab grade means special grade, and I'll explain what the 4 grades are. Standard grade, Elab grade, top grade, and chronometer grade. So Elab grade, which is special grade, is regulated in 3 positions. Standard grade is only regulated in 2 positions. So one gets a more accurate regulation with the Elab grade due to the 3 positions of regulation. So Elab grade SW200-1s are regulated to plus or minus 7 seconds to plus or minus 20 seconds per day. Now that's a rather wide accuracy range, but I'm pleased to report that this one has been very well regulated and it's running consistently at plus 5 seconds per day, which is very impressive because that is well within COSC chronometer limits of minus 4 to plus 6 seconds per day. So to get a movement regulated to plus 5 seconds per day, and bear in mind this is only €460, that is incredible. And again, Steinhart deserves full credit for using very well regulated Elab grade SW200-1 movements. So lastly, I'll summarise the piece. What do I think of it overall? Well, when I'm considering reviewing a watch on my channel, the watch should meet 2 criteria. It should be both excellent quality and excellent value at the respective price points. So $539 equates to €460, and that includes DHL shipping. Yes, this is unquestionably excellent quality, and yes, it is unquestionably excellent value. At €460, this watch cannot be beaten. It is the perfect homage to the Tudor Snowflake Submariner reference 7021/0 from the 1970s. Steinhart have got many things correct with this watch that so many other watch brands get incorrect. The female pivoted end links, the use of clear AR coating on the underside of the sapphire crystal, and the 4 micro adjustment holes in the flip-lock clasp, and also including 2 half links, one either side of the flip-lock clasp, for fine-tuning the adjustments of the length of the bracelet. I also like the addition of the holes in the lugs, which make removing the bracelet and fitting straps easy. So everything about this watch is done very well. I also like the fact that the dial is not over-branded with text and specification. On the standard Ocean 139, it says Ocean 1 and then it says Professional Automatic, and then we have the water resistance rating 1000 feet equals 300 meters. I like the fact that this isn't over-branded with unnecessary text and specification. It simply says Steinhart at 12 o'clock with the brand emblem. Then we have 300 meters equals 1000 feet and automatic at the 6 o'clock position. Just the right amount of information, nothing unnecessary. It doesn't look too busy, it doesn't look too cluttered. It's perfection. I also like the fact the printed dial does a good job of being an homage to the Snowflake dial without applied indices. Everything about it is correct, including the red Arabic numerals, as I've discussed. So it's a very well executed watch. The case finishing is excellent, the build quality is excellent, the quality control is excellent, everything about it is very good. So I'm going to declare it a champagne watch for lemonade money. Now lastly, I'm going to say this. I like this watch so much, and I'm so impressed by it in fact that I've decided to add it to my own personal collection, and that really is the highest compliment I can pay a watch. I've decided to keep this in my collection with my Rolex Oyster Perpetual 41, and I'm going to wear it in rotation on a daily basis. So that will tell you how good this watch is. I think it really is outstanding, and it's good enough to add to my own personal collection. Bear in mind, I've reviewed over 100 watches on my channel, and for me to choose this watch really is a very high compliment over those 100 watches. So I hope you've liked my review of the Steinhart Ocean 39 Marine Black. Please feel free to post your own comments below the video. Thank you very much.